Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi wa kafa wa salamun ala ibadi alladhina istafa amma ba'd. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. قل إن تخفوا ما في صدوركم أو تبدوه يعلمه الله ويعلم ما في السماوات والأرض والله على كل شيء قدير. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made our external actions have a secret ingredient that will distinguish us between others in the akhirah. Many of us, if we were to ask ourselves, why did you come to the masjid? We would give a response, because we're Muslims, we have to pray every Jumu'ah. We have to come and pray Salatul Jumu'ah on Fridays. If we ask the same question for, okay, why do we use a car? Why do we make wudu? Why do we do these different actions? Why does a parent support a child? Why would a mother raise her child? Why would she nurse her child? Many of us might answer these questions just saying that, well, it's my habit, right? I go to work daily, I need to provide a living. But in our deen, we're not supposed to just have a habit of doing things. Because there isn't a habit, a person isn't rewarded for doing a habit, but a person is rewarded for doing that action for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And one important key factor for that is having an intention to do our actions. Right? In this day and age, we're not dealing with only difficulty of having sincerity, but rather the difficulty is having an intention in the first place. We don't even make intention for what we do. Every single thing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made our deen beautiful in such a way that every single thing you can do, you can have a good intention for. Right? Actions can be divided into something which is permissible, impermissible, and generally those which are mubah. Nothing has been really said about it. Obviously, the impermissible actions, you can't turn them into good actions with your intention. But it's those mubah, those permitted actions, with a simple intention for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you can turn that into ibadah. And niyyah, right? Tumayyizul aada anil ibadah. It distinguishes a habit from an actual ibadah. You look at the hadith of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which we heard frequently at the time of Ramadan. Man sama imanan wa ihtisaban ghufira lahu ma qaddama min dhanbi. Right? The person who fasts with iman and what else? Ihtisaban. That you actually have desire for the reward. Your niyyah is there for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the sake of acquiring Jannah, and for the sake of the reward. If your niyyah isn't there and present, you're not going to get reward for the action. And if you were to analyze our own selves, majority of the actions we do, it's void of any intention. To the extent of how we raise our children, to the extent of getting married, to the extent of having children. These things we may consider as just, a person's aada, a person's own nature, their own need. But that is supposed to, that nature and need of yours, you can turn that into actual worship and get reward for that. You get reward for those actions that you do. One of the Salaf al-Salihin asked his wife, why are you nursing the child? And she said, because I'm the mother. I have to nurse the child. She said, there's no difference between you and an animal then. Because the animal automatically knows, okay, the mother knows, give birth to the child and nurse the child, take care of the child. You're doing it because for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave an opposite command, you wouldn't do it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, it's part of the sunnah of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam to get married. It's not just for fulfilling your own desires. You have to have a niyyah for this, doing the action for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This niyyah is such that we, on the day of judgment, we will see other people in the dunya. We may think that they weren't able to do righteous, good deeds. But we don't know at the end what was inside their heart. On the day of judgment, we might see them that they will have mountains of good deeds that they might even surpass us. And why is because Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned in a hadith that Jabir ibn Abdullah radiyallahu anhu narrates that kunna ma'a Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam fi ghazat, and we were in a journey, in a battle with Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, traveling. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إن بالمدينة لرجالا ما سرتم مسيرا ولا قطعتم واد إلا كانوا معكم حبسهم المرض أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. That Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned, you didn't traverse, addressing the people that were with him in the battle, in the journey, that indeed there are certain men and individuals in Medina Munawwara that they were with you when you traversed this entire journey. They're with you when you crossed the valleys. But what happened? Habasahumul maradu. Sickness had held them back. They're extremely sick, hence they weren't able to travel with you and go out and fight for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is showing here that they weren't present with you physically, but spiritually they were present with you because of their intentions. Many times that you will find that a person is preoccupied with looking after their family, their children, but they have the intention to do different a'mal and do different good deeds. Maybe become a hafiz of the Quran, become a scholar of deen, or they don't have a lot of money but they want to donate, but they have their basic fara'id and necessities to take care of their own family and children. But because of the person's intention, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward the person in accordance to that. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a hadith Qudsi, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam narrating this hadith Qudsi, that inna Allah katab al-hasanati wa sayyi'ati thumma bayyana dhalika. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed all the different good deeds and bad deeds, and He clarified them. وَمَنْ حَمَّ بِحَسَنَةٍ وَلَمْ يَعْمَلْ بِهَا كَتَبَهُ اللَّهُ عِنْدَهُ حَسَنَةً كَامِلَةً. Right? A person that intends a good deed, and he had inclination towards doing that good deed. It just wasn't a thought. He had rujhan, he had preference in doing that if he had the ability. But he didn't do it. For whatever circumstances, something came about, he wasn't able to do it. Then كَتَبَهُ اللَّهُ عِنْدَهُ حَسَنَةً كَامِلَةً. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will write for him one good deed. وَإِنْ هَمَّ بِهَا وَعَمِلَهَا كَتَبَهُ اللَّهُ عَشَرَ حَسَنَاتٍ إِلَى 700 ضِعْفٍ إِلَى أَضْعَافٍ كَثِيرَةٍ. That if a person, he actually went through with doing that good deed, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala write 10 hasanatin, at least 10, ila 700 ضعف أضعاف كثيرة, to 700 manifold, when the person actually does that good deed. And the opposite now, look at the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. when هم بسيئة ولم يعمل بها كتبه الله عنده حسنة كاملة. Person intends a bad deed, and they had desire to do it, but they didn't do it. They stopped themselves. And then what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala writes them one good deed for that. When hamma biha wa amilaha, if he intends that and he actually acts upon that bad deed, katabahu Allahu sayyatan wahida. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will write one bad deed for the person. It's just based upon the intention. Just having the proper intention to do something and inclination to do it, that gets a person reward for that. In looking at Arabic, niya itself, right, the root letters are nawaya. Okay? The root letters of nawaya. One of the words that is derived from this is nawat. Nawatun is the date seed. You look at a date seed now. When you plant the date seed, after a year, 2, 3, 4 years, after a decade, what happens with the seed? It turns into a huge tree. That tree provides so much benefit. The leaves are so sturdy that some of the date trees, people can stand on the leaves. That's how strong the leaves are. The leaves provide shade for not only birds, but for human beings and for other large animals. Additionally, you have clusters of you have huge clusters of dates growing from that not only could humans benefit from, but animals, birds, squirrels, whoever it is, whatever animal. So that from that one seed, there's so much benefit that came, and there's so much yield from that one seed. But when did that occur? When the seed was taken care of properly. You planted it in good soil. You watered it. You looked after it. You took out any weeds around it. You made sure that there's fertilizer. That's the power of a niyyah, one intention. That a person to make a proper intention to do a good deed, and they take care of that intention. They make it khalis, solely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the deed that they are doing. Then what eventually happens is that niyyah will turn into a fruit. It will turn into a tree which will bear fruits that not only you can benefit from, but others around the entire world can benefit from that also. And you find so many people, the prime example is of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His intention, right, for going and giving da'wah to different individuals, despite they accepted Islam or not. إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you won't be able to guide those who you love and have, when tahris ala hudahum, right, that you have intense greed and desire for their guidance, but you won't be able to guide them. Only if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is guiding them at the end. But still Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is commanded to guide them, because who knows that he planted the seed within that individual. He might not have accepted Islam, but their grandchildren or children would accept Islam. And a result of that effort, that niyyah which Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam had, so many accepted Islam. At the end of his life, we know that approximately 120,000 Sahaba, he had 120,000 Sahaba surrounding him that accompanied him to perform Hajj. And what was that? That was based upon Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam's effort and going back to what his intention, what he wanted, what he intended. When a person, their intention will create wondrous and magnificent things that you can't even possibly imagine. We know the great story of Mullah Qasim Nanoti rahimahullah at the time when British were controlling India before it was divided. And what was his intention? To be able to liberate India and to create an establishment by which we can establish our deen and the Muslims will be able to thrive. So with that one intention, he started a madrasa, which that wasn't even an actual madrasa, what we call, right? A student and a teacher studying under a tree. But if you look at the establishment, not only that establishment itself, but all around the entire country of India, be it Pakistan, places in South Africa, Indonesia, Malaysia, we all branch off from that. From that effort that he made, and that effort coming down to what? His initial intention, which he had. When a person has an intention and tries to follow through with that intention, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will create wonders that he can't even imagine. But the problem is we have to have the intention first in the first place. And this is why many books of hadith, they start off with the first hadith, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. The actions are based upon their intention. Because the author is telling you, first fix your intention, why are you reading this book? Every single action, you may think it's very difficult, but it isn't. Going to the bathroom, relieving yourself, it's a natural human quality. It's your instinct. But that aada, again, that habit can turn into ibadah when you're doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're eating, you're drinking, you spending time with your children, with your wife, joking with your children. When you have a proper intention, that will entail that action to have reward and not just be a habit of ours. And this is why this is what Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught the Sahaba. You look into their lives, that every single action they did, it was done for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they had an intention behind it. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, all the different sunan he did. You read Shamal al-Tirmidhi, from combing his hair, the way he walked, the way he talked, it had an intention behind it. It had a reasoning behind it also, why he did a certain way, why he walked a certain way, why he talked a certain way when he repeated statements and kalam 3 times. There was an intention behind it. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was trying to teach the entire ummah that you need to have intention for whatever you do. It's based upon your intention that on the Day of Judgment, you will find good deeds that you didn't even do. You didn't do them in the dunya. But you had the intention and desire to do it. It's just you were held back due to certain circumstances and scenarios. Many of us here, and the intention now, it's necessary that we're also truthful in the intention. Because if a person makes an intention to do a good deed, but when they have the opportunity to actually do it, and the need arises, and they actually don't do that good deed, then the person was actually lying in their intention. For example, if a person intended that they have, if they have $100,000 or $1 million, that they want to build a masjid or some Islamic school or madrasa or help the poor out. Now, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did grant that individual that amount of money, and that person decided to keep it for his own self and use it for his own desires, then the person wasn't truthful in their intention. So the niyyah also must be truthful, that a person, when, and the time when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows a slave, opens up the opportunity for the niyyah to actually come to life and turn into actual deed, then that's the time when a person will see when the actual intention was, were they truthful in their intention or were they lying. But for every single action a person does, coming to the masjid, why a person comes in the first saf, listening to the khutbah, praying salah, all of that, when you have a proper intention, then not only will you get reward for that, but you will start to create ikhlas. Right? The epitome of our deen is to have sincerity in all of our actions that we do. Meaning you're doing that for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Solely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not for your nafs, not for the dunya, not for shaitan, not for anyone else. But in order to acquire ikhlas, you have to first make an intention. And at the time of making intention, you will see how shaitan will come and your nafs will come, because they will want a part of that action. You want to do it for the sake of showing off to others, being ostentatious, doing it for the sake of your nafs, that you feel happy by doing it. But a true sign that a person has sincerity is your nafs doesn't want you to do that, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to do that. And you go against your nafs. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to always make intentions for all of our actions that we do, and grant us ikhlas. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. All the brothers are requested to stand up, please, and come fill the first saf, inshallah. Just a few announcements, inshallah. All the brothers are requested to stand up and please move forward. So do not leave any gaps in between and make space for others. Please pass the donation boxes from left to right and donate generously. Sadaqah wards off calamities and draws the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sunday school starts this weekend, still accepting admissions for age groups 6 to 7 and 8+. Come for our weekend adult classes, and your children can be in Sunday school at the same time, learning about the Quran, Sunnah, Hadith, Adab, and Du'as. The Tafheem Weekend Program enrollment for fall 2022 is now open at masjidds.org/Tafheem classes. The classes begin this weekend, it's open to brothers and sisters, offered on-site and online. The Tafheem program focuses on providing educational opportunities for eagle learners of all ages on a part-time basis. Hoop Finesse Basketball Camp at Dar es Salaam, a 3-day exclusive camp for boys ages 7 through 18. Camp includes free camp t-shirts, short Islamic talks, all-star game, award ceremony, and pizza party starts today at 4 p.m. and continues through the weekend. Please visit the website to register, mrhoopfinesse.com. Burroughs Islamic Society is based out of Westboro, Massachusetts. BIS aims to be the first masjid established in a 21-mile radius that spans 9 suburbs. Please support them in any way you can on your way out. We are hiring female Hifz teachers, and we are hiring male math and science teachers for middle/high school students. Our weekly programs are continuing. Tuesday's tafsir program after Maghrib, we are currently covering Surah Taha with Mufti Abdul Azimuddin. And Saturday's Team Fajr will continue tomorrow. Fajr Iqama will be at 5:30 a.m. Then community breakfast will be served afterwards.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya 'ala as-salah. Hayya 'ala as-salah. Hayya 'ala al-falah. Hayya 'ala al-falah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا بين يدي الساعة. فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن المجيد: قل إن تخفوا ما في صدوركم أو تبدوه يعلمه الله ويعلم ما في السماوات والأرض والله على كل شيء قدير. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: إنما الأعمال بالنيات وإنما لكل امرئ ما نوى. بارك الله لي ولكم في القرآن العظيم ونفعنا وإياكم بآياته والذكر الحكيم. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا بين يدي الساعة. فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن المجيد: إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على عبدك ورسولك وصل على المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات وبارك على محمد وأزواجه وذريته. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين وجعلنا للمتقين إماما. اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى. عباد الله رحمكم الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله تعالى أعلى وأولى وأعز وأجل وأتم وأهم وأكبر. أقيموا الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
So, صفوفكم واعتدلوا. Please ensure the rows are straight, no gaps in between, shoulder to shoulder, heels on the line. Allahu Akbar. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. قل اللهم مالك الملك تؤتي الملك من تشاء وتنزع الملك ممن تشاء وتعز من تشاء وتذل من تشاء بيدك الخير إنك على كل شيء قدير. تولج الليل في النهار وتولج النهار في الليل وتخرج الحي من الميت وتخرج الميت من الحي وترزق من تشاء بغير حساب. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفره إنه كان توابا. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. There's a request for du'as. One of the Musalli's wife is going through heart surgery, inshallah. So we request dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it successful and grants her complete and kamil shifa afterwards.